discipline, and public performance, and sexuality was woven into that system of power. Pleasure was never a private matter. It was a language of hierarchy. Who penetrated and who was penetrated determined status more clearly than wealth or birth. Sex in Rome was not about romance or equality, was a public code of dominance. A citizen could use the bodies of those beneath him, male or female slaves, conquered foreigners, even children, without legal consequence. The only true disgrace came if a man appeared submissive. Manhood rested on conquest, not consent. A Roman leader's body, disciplined and muscular, became a weapon of status. A single rumor of softness could damage a career more than a lost battle. Women were judged by the men who claimed them, but men themselves lived under constant scrutiny, forced to project certainty and control in every gesture. Slavery provided the safety net that made this dominance possible. Husbands who took slaves into their beds were not considered adulterers, while wives faced severe punishment for similar acts. Slave children were especially vulnerable. In a society that did not recognize childhood as a protected stage, a boy or girl could be bought, gifted, or inherited with no expectation of safety. Their silence was not ignorance, it was acceptance. Public desire was organized just as carefully. Prostitution was legal, registered, and taxed. Brothels stood near temples and marketplaces, their doors marked by lamps and their services advertised on walls. Patrons ranged from soldiers to senators, some arriving in disguise, others proudly. The state took its share of revenue, but offered no protection to the workers whose bodies funded the treasury. Roman cities treated sex for sale as part of daily commerce. Religion joined the spectacle. Citizens lined up for the blows and celebrated the chaos. Orderly Rome allowed one sanctioned day of wildness to preserve the other 364. Sacred and profane merged until there was no clear boundary between prayer and indulgence. Pompeii's walls displayed frescoes of every imaginable act. Kitchens and doorways bore carved phalluses called festina, believed to ward off evil. Children grew up surrounded by these symbols. The Romans saw nothing to hide. What later ages locked away in museums' secret cabinets was once ordinary decoration. Archaeologists have uncovered bronze and wooden dildos, scented lubricants made from olive oil or honey, and furniture built for sexual experimentation. These objects were not hidden, they were maintained like any household equipment, proof that the Romans treated desire as something to refine rather than fear. Elite households collected not only art and furniture, but people, carefully groomed and trained as living ornaments of luxury. Emperors such as Nero and Elagabalus flaunted such relationships. Critics mocked excessive attachment or any hint of passivity, but the practice itself was accepted. Dominance remained the measure of virtue. Same-sex relationships followed the same logic. Roman culture did not define identity by gender of partner, but by role. A citizen who submitted risked ridicule. Emperor Hadrian openly loved the youth Antinous and deified him after death, proving that affection between men could be celebrated as long as dominance was preserved. Eunuchs' boys, castrated young, were valued as servants and sexual attendants because they were considered safe around women and incapable of fathering children. Their mutilation was described in literature with jokes about high voices and frail bodies, even as their suffering remained legally invisible. Roman law saw no murder in the destruction of property. Bathhouses revealed the same contradictions in brighter light. These public complexes erased clothing and softened class boundaries. Senators and slaves bathed side by side, inspecting one another's bodies, trading gossip, and sometimes engaging in discreet encounters, turning hygiene into another stage for performance. Desire could also be engineered chemically. Love potions, mixed goat testicles, bat blood, or enchanted honeycakes to arouse or bind a partner. Wives slipped powders into wine to keep wandering husbands loyal. Courtesans used charms to secure wealthy patrons. Even Rome's gods reflected these values. Myths celebrated Jupiter as a relentless sexual conqueror, justifying mortal behavior. Festivals and rituals gave divine approval to practices that modern eyes see as exploitation. Roman discipline demanded public virtue, but Roman religion sanctified private indulgence. When Mount Vesuvius buried Pompeii and Herculaneum, it preserved this world in volcanic ash, frescoes of explicit scenes, household charms shaped like phalluses, furniture designed for pleasure. Later centuries tried to hide these artifacts, but the stones kept their secrets intact. They remind us that the Romans were not uniquely perverse. They were simply unashamed of the power games we still play. Their legacy lingers. Modern ideas of masculinity, reputation, and the policing of certain bodies echo Roman hierarchies. The empire that built aqueducts and legal codes also normalized exploitation and carved its desires into public walls. To walk through the ruins today is to confront a blunt truth. Power and sex were never separate in Rome, and the urge to dominate outlasted the empire itself. The graffiti and sculptures are not just curiosities. They are a mirror held up to every society that treats the body as proof of status. Rome whispers across the centuries that empires can collapse under their own appetites, and that the most enduring monuments are often the ones we try hardest to hide.